This is a story that binds Iran to Holocaust history. It is the fascinating tale of a group of Polish Jewish musicians who found refuge in Iran, just as many of their colleagues and families perished in the Holocaust. In the 1920s and 30s, millions of people in Poland danced tango, jazz and swing. 3 million Jews lived in Poland at the time. Jewish musicians were among some of the most prolific artists of the era.
Jeśli chodzi o udział muzyków żydowskich właściwie w scenie muzycznej, rozrywkowej, popularnej tego czasu, to jest on właściwie absolutnie ogromny i stanowili oni większość muzyków, twórców, wykonawców tanga w Polsce. Przy czym mówimy tutaj o rzeczywiście polskiej scenie muzycznej, tej jak gdyby polskojęzycznej, tworzonej na potrzeby polskich odbiorców. I ona była tworzona przez muzyków żydowskich, którzy utożsamiali się też z polską kulturą.
In March 1939, 2,800 miles south of Warsaw, in Cairo, the Persian Crown Prince Mohammad Reza Pahlavi celebrated his marriage to Fawzia Fuad, the younger sister of King Farouk of Egypt. The marriage was a political move by the Iranian and Egyptian kings to strengthen ties between their two ancient nations. The marriage of a Sunni Muslim princess and a Shia Muslim future monarch was also intended as a symbol of religious unity between the two main branches of Islam. The glamorous couple had an opulent wedding in Abdin Palace in Cairo on March 16, 1939. Guests from all over Europe attended. A 20-course meal was served and the ceremonies were covered by international media. Impressed by the lavish Egyptian hospitality, the Iranian king, Reza Shah, decided to make the wedding celebrations for his son back home in Tehran in April 1939 even more dazzling.
4 days of rejoicing celebrated the wedding of the Crown Prince of Iran and Princess Fawzia of Egypt. 19-year-old Prince Shah and his 17-year-old bride were married in Cairo, but on their homecoming to the capital of what used to be Persia, they were welcomed with this ceremony. A military review before the young prince and princess and the emperor himself included complimentary troops from friendly foreign nations. By night, the city is gay, the black sky brilliant with a cascade of tumbling fire.
Iranian diplomats had been asked to spot talented musicians across Europe to entertain the guests, so the wedding festivities could include music from different parts of Europe, especially jazz, swing and tango. At the time, ski resorts in the Tatra Mountains in southern Poland attracted visitors from around Europe and hosted many accomplished musical bands. One of them was the Jolly Boys, a group of mostly Polish Jewish musicians who each played several instruments.
Jolly Boys was one of many jazz bands or popular music ensembles that performed light music, salon-style jazz and swing, and predominantly tango music. During the interwar period, they toured around Poland. They were based in Krakow.
There are no reliable records of how Iranian diplomats encountered the Jolly Boys band in the Tatra Mountains and invite them to perform at the royal wedding in Tehran. But the diplomats must have been looking for groups that appealed to Prince Mohammad Reza's tastes and reflected the latest trends. The prince had spent much of his youth in the West and studied at the prestigious Institut Le Rosé in Switzerland. He had been surrounded by European music and culture since childhood.
Nie wiemy dokładnie, jaki był kontrakt, jak brzmiał ten kontrakt, czy konkretnie to zaproszenie, na które odpowiedział zespół. I nie wiemy, czy oni planowali tam zostać dłużej, czy wydłużyli swój pobyt jakoś w wyniku wojny.
In the 1930s, the prince's father, Reza Shah Pahlavi, tried to modernize Iran by allying his country with the West. Thousands of foreign workers, specialists and academics were invited to Iran to help transform the country to an industrialized regional power. After Nazi Germany's invasion of Poland in September 1939 and the start of the Second World War, Iran received hundreds of thousands of Polish refugees, including many Jews and non-Jews who fled the murderous Nazi occupation of their country.
This pathetic group of outcasts fled from Poland. They journeyed through western Russia and across the great Caucasus Mountains, until at last they have come into Persia, where camps have been set up for their relief.
The Jolly Boys band, meanwhile, had found a new audience in Iran. They soon became the house band of the fashionable Palace Hotel in Tehran and performed regularly at the Officers' Club in the capital.
They became very popular, and more Polish refugees flowed in to Iran, Jews and Poles, and they had a lot of work within that community and a lot of crossover work because they took on aspects of the local musical culture as well, so that some of this music was a hybrid. And they also adapted Iranian folklore. So the band was busy, and the band members were able to help their friends and family that were trapped behind in occupied Europe, at least for a while.
Jolly Boys worked with a number of young Iranian musicians who soon became stars of Iranian music and cinema, including Hamid Ganbari and Majid Mohseni. Jolly Boys recordings are rare items and historical artifacts. The recordings are kept in the US Holocaust Memorial Museum's Chappell Family Collections Conservation and Research Center. The success of the Jolly Boys in Iran and their escape from the Holocaust was overshadowed by band members who were left behind, among them Arthur Bagelman, or Arthur Bay, who came from a famous musical family. Arthur and several members of his family were among 6 million Jews who were killed by the Germans and their collaborators during the Holocaust. Arthur was killed at Auschwitz in 1944. Other members of his family were murdered at Auschwitz, the Gross Rosen concentration camp, and in the Vuch ghetto in occupied Poland. Each member of the Jolly Boys band who played at the royal wedding survived the Holocaust. But beyond this, there is little information about most of the band members and their destinies. The most successful of them was Igor Krisha, who eventually migrated to British-controlled Palestine, dividing his time between Israel and the United States, and worked as a professional musician for the rest of his life. Today, most Iranians do not remember the Jolly Boys band and do not know their music, but this group of Polish Jewish musicians inspired generations of Iranian artists and musicians and helped shape 20th century Iranian culture in ways they might not have even known themselves.
جمعی به یاد تو